The sky was burning. Commander Una Park stood alone on the broken platform of Bizen Central Station. She looked up at the dark clouds that were not really clouds. They were ships. Hundreds of alien ships that blocked the sun and turned day into night. Behind her, in the underground tunnels, 3,000 people waited. Old men and women. Young children. Wounded soldiers who could no longer fight. They were the last survivors of this city. Maybe the last survivors of this country. Una did not know anymore. The communication systems had stopped working 2 weeks ago. She held her rifle in her hands. It was old and scratched. She had carried it for 6 months now. 6 months of running. 6 months of fighting. 6 months of watching everyone she loved die one by one. The Keth had come to Earth without warning. One day, the sky was normal. The next day, it was full of their massive ships. They called themselves the Keth Empire. They had conquered 47 worlds before Earth. To them, humans were just another species to add to their collection. Una remembered the first broadcast. The alien Overlord had appeared on every screen on the planet. His name was Thaxon. He was tall and covered in dark scales. His eyes were yellow and cold like a snake. He had 4 arms and a mouth full of sharp teeth. Surrender, he had said in a voice that made Una's bones shake. Or die. Humanity did not surrender. The first battle lasted 3 days. Every military on Earth joined together. They fired every missile. They sent every plane. They fought with everything they had, thought it was not enough, thought the Keth weapons were too powerful. Their shields stopped every bomb. Their soldiers were twice as tall as humans and 3 times as strong. One Keth warrior could kill 20 human soldiers without trying that in 3 days. The military was destroyed. In 3 weeks, the governments fell. In 3 months, half the human population was dead. But still, humanity did not surrender. Una had been a captain when the war started. She was stationed in Seoul with her unit. Her husband Do-yun was there too. He was also a soldier. They had been married for only 2 years. They used to talk about having children one day. They used to talk about buying a small house near the ocean. They used to talk about growing old together. Do-yun died on the 42nd day of the invasion. A Keth energy blast hit him while he was trying to save a group of school children. Una saw it happen. She saw the light hit him. She saw him fall. She did not even have time to hold his hand. Before he was gone, she kept fighting. Her brother Taiwu was with her in the beginning. He was younger than her by 5 years. He was always smiling, always making jokes, even when the world was ending. He said it was his way of staying sane. Una needed his smile. It reminded her that there was still something worth protecting. Taiwu disappeared during the retreat from Daejin. One moment he was beside her. The next moment he was gone. The crowd of refugees had pushed them apart. She searched for him for 3 days. She never found him. She kept fighting. Now she was a commander. Not because she wanted the job, but because everyone above her was dead. She was the highest-ranking officer left in this part of the country. 3,000 people looked to her for hope. 3,000 people trusted her to keep them alive. Una did not know if she could. She looked down at the platform under her feet. It was cracked and stained with old blood. This station used to be beautiful. She remembered coming here as a child with her grandmother. Her grandmother used to buy her sweet rice cakes from a vendor near the entrance. That vendor was gone now. The entrance was just a pile of broken stones. Her grandmother had told her many stories when she was young. Stories about their ancestors. Stories about people who had faced impossible enemies and refused to give up. "We Koreans have survived many storms," her grandmother used to say. "We bend, but we do not break." Una wondered if her grandmother could see her now. She hoped she was proud. A sound came from the sky. Yuna looked up and saw a dropship coming down. It was black and shaped like a knife. The Keth symbol was painted on its side in red. The symbol looked like a claw crushing a planet. This was it. They were coming. Yuna touched the device on her left wrist. It was small and silver. It looked like a simple bracelet. But it was so much more than that. Dr. Jisoo Han had given it to her 1 month ago. Jisoo was a scientist. Maybe the smartest person Yuna had ever met. She had worked in a secret laboratory before the invasion. She had been working on something important. Something that could change everything. When you die, Jisoo had explained, your brain will stop sending electrical signals. This device will detect that moment. And it will send a signal of its own. A signal to what? Yuna had asked. Jisoo had smiled a sad smile. To every nuclear weapon we have left. They are buried under every major city. Seoul, Bisan, Daegu, Gwangju. When the signal goes out, they will all explode at once. Yuna had stared at her. That will destroy everything. Everyone. Yes, Jisoo had said. Including whoever killed you. It was a terrible plan. A plan of last resort. A plan that said, if we cannot live free, then no one will live at all. But it was also the only plan they had left. The dropship touched the ground, 300 meters away. Dust flew into the air. The engine screamed and then went quiet. More dropships followed. One after another. They landed in rows like soldiers standing at attention. Yuna counted them. 10, 20, 50. She stopped counting after 100. The doors of the first ship opened. Keth warriors stepped out. They were huge and terrible. Their armor was black. Their weapons glowed with blue light. They moved like machines, perfectly organized, perfectly disciplined. Behind them came more warriors. And more. The ground shook under their feet. The air filled with the sound of their marching. Yuna was alone on the platform. One woman against an army. She thought about Do-yeon. She thought about Taiwu. She thought about her grandmother and her sweet rice cakes. She thought about the 3,000 people hiding behind her. Then she did something strange. She smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who had already made peace with death. It was the smile of someone who had nothing left to lose. It was the smile her grandmother had worn in old photographs from the war years. It was the smile of someone who was about to do something their enemy would never expect. The first Keth commander saw her standing there. He stopped and stared. A lone human, smiling. He did not understand. He would soon, Overlord. Daxon had not visited a conquest world in over 50 years. He did not need to. His generals were efficient. His armies were unstoppable. Every species he had faced had surrendered quickly once they understood the truth. Fighting the Keth Empire was pointless, but Earth was different. Daxon stood at the window of his command ship and looked down at the burning planet below. 6 months. 6 months he had given these creatures to accept their fate. 6 months of war that should have ended in 6 days. The humans confused him. They were weak. Their bodies were soft. Their weapons were primitive. One Keth warrior could defeat 50 of them in battle. And yet, they kept fighting. Every city, every village, every street corner. They did not broadcast surrender signals like other species. They did not beg for mercy. They did not try to negotiate. They just fought and died and fought again. His advisors told him it was because humans were stupid. They did not understand when they were beaten. But Daxon was not so sure. There was something else in their eyes. Something he had not seen in a very long time. He decided to go down to the surface. He wanted to see these creatures up close. He wanted to understand. His personal ship descended through the smoke-filled sky. 300 of his elite Shadowfang warriors came with him. These were not ordinary soldiers. They were the best of the best. Each one had killed over 1,000 enemies. Each one wore armor made from the bones of fallen civilizations. Behind them came 10,000 regular troops. More than enough to crush any resistance. They landed at a place the humans called Bazan. His scouts had reported that survivors were hiding in the underground tunnels here. A few thousand at most. They were the last group of organized humans in this region. Thaxon stepped out of his ship and breathed the earth air. It smelled of smoke and death. A familiar smell. The smell of conquest. Then he saw her. A single human female stood on a raised platform in front of the tunnel entrance. She was small. Her uniform was dirty and torn. Her face was tired. She held a primitive weapon in her hands, and she was smiling. Thaxon walked toward her. His warriors parted to let him through. Their feet made the ground shake. Their weapons hummed with deadly energy. The woman did not move. She did not run. She did not even look afraid. Thaxon stopped 20 meters away from her. His translator device crackled to life. "You are alone," he said. His voice was deep like thunder. "Your army is gone. Your cities are dust. Why do you stand here?" The woman tilted her head. Her smile did not fade. "Why do you ask questions when you already think you know the answers?" Thaxon's mandibles clicked together. This was the Keth way of laughing. "Interesting. You are not afraid." "I was afraid once," the woman said. "I was afraid when your ships first appeared. I was afraid when my husband died. I was afraid when I lost my brother. But fear gets tired after a while. It wears itself out. Now I am just empty. Empty things are easy to break. Maybe. But empty things are also hard to control." Thaxon studied her face. He had conquered species with 4 brains. He had defeated enemies who could read minds. But this simple creature was hard to understand. "What is your name?" he asked. "Unipark, commander of the Bizan survivors. The last military officer in this region." She paused. "And you are Thaxon, the Overlord, the Conqueror, the monster who killed my world." "Monster." Thaxon tested the word. "I am not a monster. I am a force of nature. The strong consume the weak. This is the law of the universe. Your species is weak. Therefore you will be consumed. Is that what you tell yourself?" Yuna asked. "Is that how you sleep at night?" "By pretending that what you do is natural." No one had ever spoken to Thaxon this way. No one had ever dared. His warriors shifted nervously. They waited for him to give the order to kill her, but Thaxon was curious. He wanted to see where this would go. "You stand alone against 10,000 warriors," he said. "What do you think you can do? What is your plan, little human?" Yuna's smile changed. It became something colder, something sharper. It was the smile of a knife being drawn from its sheath. "I was just thinking about my grandfather's stories," she said. "He used to tell me about our history, about all the times our country was invaded, by larger armies, by stronger enemies. We did not always win, but we always made them pay a price. There is no price you can make me pay. I have everything. You have nothing. I have one thing." Yuna raised her left arm. Thaxon saw a small silver device strapped to her wrist. It looked simple, harmless, but the way she held it made him uneasy. "What is that?" "This is my price," Yuna said. "This is what you will pay for every life you have taken on this world." Thaxon's secondary heart began to beat faster. He did not know why. The device was tiny. It could not be a weapon. And yet something in the woman's eyes told him that he should be worried. "Explain yourself," he commanded. "There is a scientist named Jisoo Han. She is very smart. Smarter than anyone in your empire, I think. 18 months ago, before your fleet even entered our solar system, before your fleet even entered our solar system, she made a discovery. She found a way to create something called a quantum-locked neural cascade. Thaxon knew these words. Quantum technology was advanced. Very advanced. His own scientists had studied it for centuries without success. You are lying, he said. Your species does not have this technology. We did not have starships either, Una replied. But we had Jesu, and Jesu had desperation. You would be surprised what humans can create when they are desperate. She touched the device on her wrist gently, almost lovingly. This machine is connected to my brain. It monitors my neural activity, my thoughts, my heartbeat. And when I die, when my brain stops working, this device will detect it. And it will send a signal. A signal to what? To every nuclear warhead buried beneath every major city on this planet. Seoul, Bizen, Daegu, Incheon, Gwangju, and about 50 other locations. They are all waiting for my signal. The silence was absolute. Even the winds seemed to stop blowing. When I die, Una continued, the whole planet explodes. Everyone dies. Humans, Keth, everyone, including you. Thaxon did not move. He could not move. For the first time in 400 years, he felt something cold spreading through his body. Something he had almost forgotten. Fear. You are bluffing, he said. But his voice was not as steady as before. Una's smile widened. Am I? You have studied us. You know we do not surrender. You thought it was because we are stupid, because we do not understand reality. But you were wrong. We understood reality perfectly. We knew we could not beat you in battle. So we made a different plan. We turned ourselves into a bomb that you cannot defuse. A bomb that will go off the moment you try to kill me. She spread her arms wide, as if embracing the ruined world around her. So go ahead, Overlord. Kill me. Take your victory. But know that it will be the last victory you ever take. Thaxon stared at the small woman on the platform. His army of 10,000 waited behind him. Any one of them could kill her in a second. But killing her was the one thing they could not do. The Overlord finally understood why humans were still smiling. They had found a way to win by losing. Wind blew across the broken station platform. Dust and ash swirled in the air. Una stood perfectly still, her arms still spread wide, her smile still fixed on her face. Thaxon's mind raced. In 400 years of conquest, he had faced many weapons. Planet crackers that could split worlds in half. Energy bombs that could turn stars into black holes. Biological weapons that could kill entire species in days. But he had never faced anything like this. This was not a weapon of power. It was a weapon of will. The human was not threatening to kill him. She was threatening to die. And somehow, that was worse. You would destroy your own world, he said slowly. You would kill your own species. Every man, every woman, every child. Just to kill me? Una lowered her arms. Her smile faded into something harder, something colder. You already killed them. 6 months ago, when you first arrived. You killed their future. You killed their freedom. You killed their hope. The only question now is whether their deaths mean something. This is madness. Maybe, but it is a madness you created. You came to our world with your ships and your armies. You burned our cities. You murdered our families. You told us we had 2 choices, surrender or die. So we made a third choice. We chose to make sure you die with us. Thaxon turned to look at his army. 10,000 warriors stood in perfect rows. Their weapons were ready. Their eyes were focused. Any one of them could end this in a single second, but they all stood frozen. He understood why. If they killed her, everyone died. If a stray shot hit her, everyone died. If she tripped and fell and broke her neck, everyone died. The entire army was paralyzed by the life of one small woman. His guard commander, Vexnar, stepped forward. Vexnar was old and experienced. He had served Thaxon for over a century. He had never shown fear in battle, but now his hands were shaking. "Overlord," Vexnar said quietly, "we should withdraw. Pull the army back. Reposition the fleet beyond the blast radius. Then we can bombard the planet from orbit and what?" Thaxon interrupted. "If we bombard the planet, she dies. If she dies, the weapons detonate. We cannot kill her from orbit any more than we can kill her from here. Then we wait. Humans are mortal. They age. They get sick. Eventually, she will die of natural causes, and in the meantime, look behind her. There are 3,000 humans in those tunnels. They will protect her, feed her, give her medicine. They will keep her alive for decades if they have to. And every day we wait, we look weaker. Every day we wait, the other conquered species watch and wonder if we can be beaten." Vexnar had no answer. He stepped back into line with the other warriors. Thaxon looked at Una again. She was watching him with calm eyes. Patient eyes. She had all the time in the world. He was the one on a deadline. "Let us say I believe you," he said. "Let us say this device is real. What do you want? What are your demands?" "I have only one demand. Leave. Take your army. Take your ships. Leave Earth and never come back." "Impossible. The Keth Empire does not retreat. We have never abandoned a conquest. If we leave here, we look weak. Other species will rebel. Our empire will crumble." Una shrugged. "That sounds like your problem, not mine." Thaxon felt his rage building. No one spoke to him like this. No one. He was the Overlord. He had crushed civilizations. He had killed billions. He was the most powerful being in this galaxy dot, and yet here he stood, helpless against a single tired woman with a silver bracelet. "There must be something else you want," he pressed. "Resources. Technology. We can give you ships. We can give you weapons. We can make Earth a protected world. You can join the Empire as partners instead of slaves." "You still do not understand." Una shook her head slowly. "We do not want to join your empire. We do not want your protection. We do not want anything from you. We just want you gone. Forever. And if I refuse?" Una touched the device on her wrist. "Then I find a sharp rock and open my veins. And this conversation ends very quickly." The threat hung in the air like smoke. Thaxon studied her face carefully. He had interrogated thousands of prisoners over the centuries. He knew how to spot lies. He knew the signs of bluffing. A nervous twitch. A shifting eye. A tremor in the voice. He saw nothing. Una Park was not bluffing. She was completely prepared to die. She was almost eager for it. "Why?" he asked. And for the first time, his voice was not commanding. It was curious, almost confused. "Why would you give up your life? You could run. You could hide. You could live a few more years. Why choose death?" Una was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was soft, almost gentle. "I had a husband. His name was Do-Yun. He was kind and brave, and he made me laugh every day. Your soldiers killed him on the 42nd day of the invasion. He was trying to save children, school children who were trapped in a burning building. He got them out, and then one of your warriors shot him in the back." She paused. Her eyes were wet, but no tears fell. "I had a brother, Taiwo. He was younger than me. He smiled even when everything was falling apart. He said it was his way of fighting back. He disappeared in the chaos when we fled Daejeon. I never found out what happened to him. I do not know if he is alive or dead. The not knowing is almost worse. Her voice grew stronger. I had a grandmother who taught me that some things are worth more than life. Freedom, dignity, the right to choose your own fate. She survived many hard times. She always said that Koreans bend but do not break. Yuna looked directly into Thaxon's yellow eyes. You asked me why I would choose death. But you are asking the wrong question. I am not choosing death. I am choosing meaning. If I die hiding in a tunnel, I die for nothing. But if I die standing here, facing you, making you understand that humans will never submit, then my death has weight. It matters. It echoes. She smiled again. That same cold, sharp smile. And you will hear that echo for the rest of your life. Every time you look at the stars, you will remember this moment. You will remember the planet you could not conquer, the species you could not break, the woman who smiled at your army and made them freeze in fear. Thaxon said nothing. For the first time in 400 years, the great Overlord had nothing to say. Behind him, his army waited in silence. 10,000 warriors, the most powerful military force in the galaxy. All of them frozen, all of them afraid of a single woman with a silver bracelet. The sun began to set over the ruined city. The sky turned red like blood. And Yuna Park stood on her platform like a statue, patient and calm. She could wait. She had already won. Night fell over. Bizon, the fires in the distance, cast orange light across the ruins. The stars appeared in the sky, millions of tiny points of light, each one a sun with its own worlds and stories. But no one was looking at the stars. Keth's army had not moved in 6 hours. 10,000 warriors stood in perfect rows, their weapons ready, their eyes fixed on the small woman on the platform. They were trained to fear nothing. They were trained to embrace death in service of the Empire. They had faced armies of millions. They had destroyed civilizations that had lasted for 10,000 years. But this was different. This was not a battle. This was a puzzle with no solution. A trap with no escape. Every warrior understood the math. If the human died, they all died. It did not matter who killed her. It did not matter how she died. The moment her heart stopped, the bombs would explode. The planet would be destroyed. The fleet in orbit would be caught in the blast. And the great Overlord Thaxon would die on this forgotten world, his legacy reduced to ash dots. So they stood still. They barely breathed. They were afraid to move because any movement might cause an accident. A stumble. A misfire. Anything that might kill the woman. And so the most powerful army in the galaxy was frozen by the weakness of a single human. Thaxon paced back and forth in front of his troops. His footsteps echoed in the silence. His mind searched for solutions, but found none. He had tried threats. Yuna had laughed at them. He had tried bribes. Yuna had refused them. He had tried logic. Yuna had used his own logic against him. Now he was running out of options. Vexnar approached him again. The old commander spoke in a whisper. Overlord, our warriors are getting tired. They cannot stand forever. And the humans in the tunnel, they are starting to move. Thaxon looked toward the tunnel entrance. Vexnar was right. In the shadows behind Yuna, he could see movement. Human faces appearing in the darkness. Eyes watching the frozen army. One face caught his attention. A small human child. A female, he thought. She was very young, maybe 6 or 7 Earth years. She was looking at Yuna with something like wonder in her eyes. The child did not look afraid. She looked hopeful. Thaxon felt a strange sensation in his chest. It took him a moment to recognize it. It was doubt. For the first time in centuries, he was questioning himself. His choices. His purpose. His entire life. Overlord. Vexnar's voice was urgent now. What are your orders? Thaxon did not answer. He was still watching the child. On the platform, Yuna noticed the direction of his gaze. She turned her head slightly. "Her name is Yoonji," she said. Her voice was tired but steady. "She is 7 years old. I found her in a burning orphanage 3 weeks ago. Her parents were killed in the first wave of your invasion. She has no one left except the people in this tunnel." Thaxon looked at the child. Yoonji, such a simple name. "She does not understand what is happening," Yuna continued. "She does not understand why the monsters stopped moving. All she knows is that I am standing here and the monsters are not hurting her. That is enough for her. She trusts me. Why are you telling me this? Because I want you to understand something. You look at us and see a weak species. You see soft bodies and short lives and primitive technology. But you are missing what makes us strong." She pointed at little Yoonji, still watching from the shadows. "That child has lost everything. Her home, her parents, her friends. She has seen things that would break most beings in this galaxy. And yet she is still standing. She is still hoping. She is still trusting that tomorrow might be better than today." Yuna turned back to face Thaxon. "That is what you can never conquer. That hope, that stubbornness, that refusal to give up even when giving up would be easier. You can kill our bodies. You can burn our cities. But you cannot kill what we are." Thaxon said nothing, but his hands had stopped shaking. His mind had become very quiet. He was thinking about his own species. The Keth had conquered 47 worlds. They had built an empire that spanned 1,000 star systems. They were powerful and feared and respected. But when was the last time a Keth child had looked at anything with hope? When was the last time a Keth warrior had fought for something other than duty? When was the last time anyone in the Keth Empire had loved something enough to die for it? Thaxon could not remember. The night grew colder. Frost began to form on the metal of the weapons and armor. The Keth warriors did not move. They were like statues made of fear. In the tunnel behind Yuna, more humans appeared. They came slowly, carefully, watching the frozen army with wide eyes. Some of them were wounded. Some of them were old. Some of them were children like Yoonji. They all moved to stand behind their commander. Yuna did not look back at them. She did not need to. She could feel their presence, their warmth, their trust. "You should sit down," a voice said behind her. Yuna recognized it. Dr. Jisoo Han, the scientist who had made all of this possible. "I'm fine. You have been standing for 7 hours. Your legs will give out." Yuna smiled slightly. "If I sit down, they might think I am weak." Jisoo moved to stand beside her. She was small and thin, with glasses that kept sliding down her nose. She did not look like someone who had invented the most terrifying weapon in human history. "They already think we are weak," Jisoo said. "That is why this is working." They stood together in silence for a moment. 2 women against an empire. Then Jisoo whispered, "I should tell you something." "What?" "There are others. Other devices like yours. I made copies. Many copies." Yuna turned to look at her. "How many?" "Thousands. We have been distributing them for weeks. Every survivor group that we could contact. Every city. Every tunnel. Every hiding place. If any of them die, if any of their hearts stop, the bombs go off." Yuna stared at her. "You turned the entire human race into a dead man switch. I turned us into something they cannot defeat." Jisoo adjusted her glasses. "They can kill one of us. They can kill 100 of us. But they cannot kill all of us. Not without dying themselves. We are all connected now. Every human life is a trigger. Every human death is a weapon." Yuna looked out at the frozen army. 10,000 warriors who could not attack. An overlord who could not command. An empire that could not conquer. "When did you become so dangerous?" she asked Jisoo. The scientist's eyes were sad behind her glasses. When they killed my daughter, she was 4 years old. She did not understand what was happening. She just kept asking me why the sky was on fire. Jisu's voice was steady, but her hands were trembling. They took everything from me. So I decided to take everything from them. The ability to win. The ability to conquer. The ability to feel safe ever again. She smiled a small, broken smile. I am a scientist. This is my contribution to the war. Yuna reached out and took Jisu's hand. They stood together as the stars wheeled overhead and the frozen army watched them with helpless eyes. Somewhere in the ruins of the old world, humanity was learning a new lesson. Sometimes the greatest weapon is the willingness to lose everything. And sometimes the weakest creatures are the most dangerous of all. The sun rose over the ruins of Bizin. Pink. An orange light spread across the sky, painting the clouds in colors that seemed too beautiful for such a broken world. Yuna had not slept. She had not eaten. She had stood on that platform for 12 hours, watching the frozen army, waiting for the moment that would decide everything. Behind her, the survivors had organized themselves. They took turns sleeping in shifts. They shared their small stores of food and water. They kept the children calm with stories and games. They waited with the same patience as their commander. Thaxon had not slept either. Keth did not need sleep the way humans did, but they needed rest. His mind was exhausted. His body ached. His thoughts kept circling back to the same impossible problem. He could not kill the woman without dying. He could not leave without looking weak. He could not negotiate because she wanted nothing he could give. And then his communication device crackled. It was his fleet commander in orbit, a warrior named Draxus. His voice was tight with barely controlled panic. Overlord, we are receiving signals from across the planet. Thousands of signals. They are all the same frequency as the device on the human woman's wrist. Thaxon went cold. Explain. The humans, they have more of these devices. Many more. Our sensors are detecting them everywhere. Every major city. Every survivor group. Every corner of this world. There are at least 10,000 of them. Maybe more. 10,000 triggers. 10,000 humans, each one connected to the same network of nuclear weapons. The woman had not been bluffing. And she had not been alone. Thaxon looked at Yuna. She was watching him with calm eyes. She had heard the transmission. She knew that he knew. You understand now, she said quietly. It was never just me. It was never just this one device. We had months to prepare while you were burning our cities. We used that time well. Thaxon's hands curled into fists. This is insane. Your entire species has become a suicide bomb. Yes, Yuna nodded. And you cannot defuse us. You can kill one of us. You can kill 100 of us. But you cannot kill all of us. Not before someone triggers the network. She stepped forward. For the first time, she left the platform and walked toward the Overlord. His warriors tensed, but no one dared to move. Yuna stopped 3 meters from Thaxon, close enough to see the rage in his yellow eyes, close enough to see the fear beneath the rage. You came to Earth expecting an easy conquest, she said. You expected us to surrender or die. But we found a third option. We made ourselves too dangerous to conquer, too expensive to kill, too unpredictable to ignore. She looked around at the frozen army. Your warriors are the best in the galaxy. They have never known defeat. They have never known fear. But look at them now. They are afraid of us. They are afraid of the weakest species they have ever faced. Her voice grew louder. That fear will spread. When you leave this world, when your soldiers tell their stories, everyone will hear about what happened here. the species you have conquered, the allies you have bought. They will all learn that the Keth can be stopped. They will all learn that there is a species in the galaxy that you could not break. Thaxon said nothing. But in his silence, Una heard her victory. "Leave now," she said. "Take your army. Take your ships. Mark Earth on your maps as a forbidden world. Tell everyone what happened here. Tell them that humans are not worth the cost. And if I refuse?" Una smiled. That same cold, sharp smile. Then I close my eyes and let myself fall. And you find out if I was telling the truth. She raised her left arm, showing him the silver device on her wrist. You have 30 seconds to decide. The silence was absolute. The army held its breath. The Overlord stood frozen. 20 seconds. 10 seconds. 5 seconds. Thaxon raised his hand. "All units," he said, his voice hollow and dead. "Return to the ships. We are leaving." The effect was immediate. The Keth warriors broke formation and began marching back toward their dropships. They moved quickly, almost desperately, eager to get away from the woman and her terrible weapon. Thaxon was the last to move. He stood before Una for a long moment, studying her face. "This is not over," he said quietly. "My empire will remember this insult. One day, when we find a way to neutralize your devices, we will return." "Maybe," Una said. "But that day is not today. And tomorrow is not guaranteed for anyone." The Overlord turned and walked away. His steps were heavy. His shoulders were bent. He looked like what he was, a defeated conqueror, leaving a world he could not take. The dropships lifted off one by one. They rose into the pink morning sky and disappeared into the clouds. The ground rumbled as the Great Invasion Fleet broke orbit and turned away from Earth. Yun watched them go. Her legs were shaking. Her vision was blurred. She had been running on adrenaline for 12 hours, and now it was finally running out. Hands caught her before she fell. It was Dr. Jisoo, and behind her, a dozen other survivors who had rushed forward to help. "You did it," Jisoo whispered. "You actually did it." Una shook her head weakly. "We did it. All of us." She looked at the crowd of survivors gathering around her. 3,000 people who had refused to give up. 3,000 people who had bet their lives on a scientist's invention and a commander's smile. Little. Yoonji pushed through the crowd and grabbed Yuna's hand. Her small face was looking up with wide eyes. "Did we win?" she asked. Una looked at the sky. The last of the alien ships was disappearing into the distance. The sun was rising over a world that was broken but free. "Today," she said softly. "We won today." She picked up Yoonji and held her close. The child wrapped her arms around Yuna's neck and held on tight. Around them, the survivors began to cheer. Some of them laughed. Some of them cried. Some of them simply stood in silence, unable to believe what had just happened. The Keth Empire had come to Earth with the most powerful army in the galaxy. They had expected an easy victory. They had expected submission and fear. Instead, they had found something that their weapons could not destroy, and their warriors could not defeat. They had found humanity in the years that followed. The story of Bizon spread across the galaxy. Other conquered species heard about the smiling human who had frozen an army with nothing but her willingness to die. They heard about the scientist who had turned an entire species into a weapon. They heard about the children who had watched their world burn and still dared to hope. And slowly, one by one, they began to fight back. The Keth Empire marked Earth with a special symbol on all their star charts, a red circle with a warning beneath it. The warning said, "World of mutual destruction. Do not engage." But the humans were not content to stay on their broken world. They had learned something important about themselves. They had learned that they were not weak. They had learned that their willingness to lose everything made them stronger than species that clung to their power dot in the ruins of Bizon. Engineers began working on humanity's first starship. They used pieces of crash-test technology and their own desperate ingenuity. It took them 5 years, but they finally made it work. When the first human ship left Earth's atmosphere, Una was standing in the command center. She was older now. There was gray in her hair and lines on her face. But her smile was the same. Little Yunji stood beside her, no longer little. She was 12 years old now, and she had grown into someone fierce and determined. She wanted to see the stars. She wanted to meet other species. She wanted to spread the lesson that Earth had taught the galaxy, that the strong do not always win, that the weak are not always helpless, and that sometimes the most dangerous thing in the universe is a species with nothing left to lose. As the ship climbed toward the stars, Una thought about her husband Doyun. She thought about her brother Taiwu. She thought about her grandmother and all the ancestors who had survived impossible times. She hoped they were watching. She hoped they were proud. Then she looked forward, toward the endless darkness filled with light. "Where do we go now?" Yunji asked. Una smiled. "Everywhere," she said. "We go everywhere." And humanity reached for the stars. The end.